Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Two Pieces of Toast. Today we have two very wonderful guests, maybe even three. Greg might pop back in. We got good old Griffin Campbell, and then we have my dear friend Ashton Smyth. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Good to be here, man.
I'm glad to have you. How you boys doing today? Everybody having a wonderful time?
Excellent. I couldn't be better if I was dead.
Oh God, why the fuck? This is something I was super excited to have you on. First of all, a little backstory on Ashton, guys. He's one of the youngest entrepreneurs in the area I'm from, one of the most successful as well. I've watched this dude start a business from literal scraps, literal nothing, up to the point now where he owns three separate buildings and has multiple. How many employees would you say you have now?
We have 24 employees.
Ooh,
Ooh, that's what I'm saying, man. It's some incredible progress. I've seen it all happen,
nice.
and it's a beautiful thing when you watch your homies come up like that. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, so if you actually go ahead and tell us a little bit about your business, kind of what you do, and give us a little rundown.
Okay, yeah. So we started off with the laboratory, which we opened in December of 2020, and it's a smoke shop. We do a big focus on hemp-derived products like Delta 8 and Delta 10, THCO, HHC. So we opened that up, and things just really took off. And people showed us a lot of support. And about 6 months later, we were able to open up Delta's Delights, which is it's not open to the public, but what we do there is we actually make the hemp derived products. We mainly do things like edibles,
Mm,
granola bars, cereal bars, brownies, that sort of thing. And then we
excellent.
actually sell those in the laboratory, and then also to other businesses, other shops and stuff. And then
Yeah,
luckily, about 6 months after that, we were able to open up the second laboratory location, which is in Johnson City. We were able to do things a little bit bigger, kind of kept the same vibe, but kind of, made everything a little nicer up there, a little bit bigger space. So, we've definitely just been really blessed and, just it's been able to grow a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. Now
man,
we're here. Just,
the timeline on that is truly incredible. Like one of the most fascinating things I've always thought, like watching this happen, is most people when they invest in a company, especially the way you guys did. You guys went like fucking all in. You dumped your bag into it. You're like either it works or it fucking doesn't. And most
yeah,
people when they do that, they don't see profit even in the first year or two. You guys were so profitable. You opened two more businesses in the first year, which is fucking immaculate, man. I just like truly congratulations. It's so impressive.
Now,
Uh,
to a question to that is, would you say you were one of the first in the area to adopt that sort of, I wouldn't say business model, but are you the first shop to open around you? Like the first type of
you know,
laboratory?
nowadays, there are so many shops like ours in our area. It
Right,
is,
right.
around every single corner. But we actually did come in at, couldn't be a better time where we were like the new guys on the block. There was one other shop, you had Catch 22. They had been around for forever, and we kind of just did a completely different take on the whole smoke shop thing. And we were the only ones doing it, and that definitely helped us kind of get our name out there. And even though there are a bunch of other shops that, are similar to ours now and kind of do things similarly, we still definitely, I would say we were the first.
Yeah, you guys, and the way you guys brought it into the area is so much more of a lax vibe and a friendly vibe. That's why you
Yeah.
guys are, like have so much. You guys have such a wonderful organic reach that when someone visits your place, they want to tell their friends about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it
Mhm.
is a very comfortable establishment. You go into Catch 22 and you say the wrong word, no slander whatsoever. You know they're a great company, they've done wonderful things. But if you say the wrong word in Catch 22, like you were to walk in there and be like, "Can I see that bong right there?" They would be like, man, you got to get out of here. You got to call the pipe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
And
it's just an uncomfortable thing to be. And people are already uncomfortable when you come into a setting where
mhm,
you're buying something that was previously illegal. You know what I'm saying? And so for you guys to bring it to like a comfortable level like that was such a wonderful like new perspective to our areas specifically.
and I feel like kind of touching on what you were saying, I feel like it's so important, like for small businesses to make sure, like, you know, people are telling anybody and everybody about you. You know, like that's always been such a big focus for me. It's like we need every single person to like only have good experiences with us.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
because it only takes that
absolutely.
one person who's going to go and tell all of their friends. You know,
Well, word of mouth, like communication, verbal communication was the root. That's where we started. So
Yeah,
once
but
you hear something from someone you trust or a friend of something like that, yeah, I would say out of most of the establishments that I'd frequent, especially in terms of buying herb, it's mostly by word of mouth. Like
hmm
I'm usually pretty apprehensive to give someone a well, not give someone a try, but like you know what I'm saying in the sense that like we have in Chatham here, like it's been legal in Canada for a bit, so now we
hmm
have like, six six or seven different weed shops.
and like a
And
10-mile radius, if I'm not wrong. You guys got it compact there.
yeah, I could definitely just make a workout run of running to each different store, and it would probably equate to probably like 5 or 6K or
Yeah,
like
the amount you smoked would be replaced by the amount you ran. So there's technically no damage to your body done at that point. It's pretty incredible. But so one of the things, like one of the main differences between where we're at and Canada, for people listening, we live in Tennessee. Ashton and I both live in Tennessee. Tennessee, it's still illegal, but there's a lot of like wonderful loopholes and new chemicals that are being found every day. Like he was referencing was Delta 8, Delta 10, and THCO. So the only thing legally on paper that's illegal in Tennessee is to have more than 0.3% Delta 9 THC. So what the laboratory did and a couple others in the area is they have been focusing more on the other THC chemicals because there's multiple. Not a lot of people know that about weed, but there's actually multiple chemicals that have psychoactive effects. And
cannabinoids.
yeah, exactly. And so to be able to focus on that and bring that to an area where a lot of people initially would like kind of look at it with a like a tinted lens, like saying, you know, a negative view rather, because we live in the Bible Belt. A lot of people are like, you know, that's the devil's lettuce. That shit's horrible. That's not good for you. You can't do that. And to bring it to a point where not only is it people are accepting it medicinally, they're also accepting it recreationally. I mean, you guys have brought it the business itself to a chamber of commerce that previously wanted nothing to do with that kind of stuff. And you guys, because I had talked to Andrea a couple times about different things like that, and for you guys to come in and just like drive it home like that, it's such a wonderful thing. I'm so glad you guys brought it to the area. One of the questions I had with that is there any kind of particular challenges like that you guys have had to face that you were able to overcome, and like how did you do that?
So there definitely have been some challenges working in our industry. The first one that comes to mind is it's very hard to get a payment processor that works with any sort of cannabis, including hemp.
Yeah.
And whenever you do find them, you know, it's going to be way, way higher than what your average is going to be.
Right.
So
Because
that's
they're taking a risk as well, supposedly.
right. It's considered high risk.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, you know, that's not one that I guess necessarily we were able to get over. You know, I mean, we do have a pretty good rate. But that was one we were faced with very early on. And then just, you know, even finding places that'll let us put a shop in. Because, for example, we had talked to the Pinnacle in Bristol whenever we were looking for places for a second shop. And, you know, we had talked to them for a couple months, and then eventually they just came back and were like, we're more of a family oriented place,
Man,
you
that
know?
would be a wonderful place for it too, honestly. Like that would have
Yeah.
been killer.
Yeah, that was honestly was our number one choice for a while, you know. And it
Yeah.
was kind of we were kind of waiting on it, you know, trying to see it seemed very promising. It really did.
Yeah.
And then eventually they just came back with that. But honestly, I'm kind of glad it happened. I love our Johnson City location so much. It looks like a laboratory. You know, it's still that same downtown kind of feel, and it's right there with all the bars and stuff. I mean,
And
we stay open until we get to stay open until 2 a.m. on weekends, which is pretty cool. We get It's actually our busiest time in AC is probably 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
Really?
People are out
Pretty cool.
roaming. Yeah, that's the city I live in, and I'm honestly ashamed to say I haven't been to the John City location. I find myself like having more free time when I'm visiting Kingsport than when I'm in John City, because when I'm in John City, obviously that's where I live. So I'm either, I'm
No.
either working or I'm with the kid or I'm with my fiance or so something's crazy happening. But I definitely have to check it out. You've given it a wonderful description, and it's right there near the German place and right, if I'm not mistaken, like right near the fountain, right in the middle of town.
It's right next to Tipton's Pub.
Okay, I know where
That is. And
Tipton's
like
at.
the
Yeah,
label.
absolutely.
It's right
Yeah.
it's literally next door to Tipton's Pub.
Okay, so the Red Maze place near that.
Yeah, it's up that way.
Okay,
It's literally like you have the label Tipton's Pub, us, and then it's like Aslan's Hope clothing store
oh
is the
God.
strip right there.
Yeah, apparently, supposedly my fiance knows that girl. I honestly know nothing about her. I have the
Dude,
memory
she
of
hates us.
she does. That makes sense because
She
Kiana
does.
said, and like I said, once again, I don't know anything about this girl, but the things I've heard about her from third party aren't the best. So that kind of
She
falls in line.
seems so nice though. Also, she seems so very nice, but uh, she doesn't like that we smell like we, our shop in
Hey,
general.
one of the things that comes with that territory is people kind of looking at it in a negative light. But I think we're reaching a point not
Yeah,
just in the country, but like even in our state where people are kind of viewing it in a new perspective. Because there's people I
Oh,
they
know that I've
definitely are.
fellas,
yeah, there's
fellas,
people.
fellas, fellas.
What?
I will say, I do want to just add, it's been legal in Canada for many, many years. Well, not many, many, but quite a while now.
Like 4 years, right?
Yeah, 4 years. I would check, and I don't remember because of it going legal, but something like that. Regardless, we still get people who really, really dislike it, and
Hmm.
so like an example, Kristen and I went to the beach last summer, and we were parked like way back out of the way kind of thing, and our preferred method of smoking is through a water pipe or a bong. And to a lot of people, when they see a bong, it's just like an automatic like
You're smoking
drug
crack.
abuse. Yeah, like that's a crack pipe that you got there. Like it's very not a, I don't know. It
That's the
scares a lot of
healthiest
people
way
around
besides
here.
vaping, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't the bong like one of the best ways? The
I
water pipe?
I believe so.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say,
As
I
far as
think the only
smoking
better
goes,
way
believe
is
that,
to
but
literally vaporize it with those little like machines that you put a plastic tube on the end of.
I would
yeah.
definitely say it's the smoothest. But more to the point is, even after this guy came up to us and says, "Well, what are you guys doing?" And then, well, just smoking some pot before we go to the beach.
Hey,
Like, not,
we're minding our
not,
business. What are you doing? That's what I would have
yeah.
said. I'd be like, hello.
And he's just like, "Oh, and you think you're allowed to do that here?" And we both said, "Well, it's legal, and yeah, you can smoke here. It's not a no smoking area."
That's
And
that stigma will definitely be erased generationally, right? Because
I
even
feel
you got to
like,
I
feel
would say so.
70 years ago, or even sooner than that, alcohol was completely illegal in the United States. That's where bootleggers get. NASCAR, the sport. This is not a fact a lot of people know. NASCAR actually came from bootleggers. These people would like illegally run alcohol across the country at these fucking insane speeds, and then eventually people were just like, "We should make a sport out of these motherfuckers just driving as fast as they could." I got to look up because I can't remember like the initial, but especially the area Daytona Beach, like that was a famous place for bootlegging alcohol. And so now, obviously, I'm not going to say alcohol's in a better light than weed because it's significantly worse for you, without a fucking doubt. But even still, there's quite a few people, not just in this country, but in Canada, as you're saying, that still would view it as the same level. They're like, okay, that's weed is essentially crack. Like you're doing something that is just unforgivable, and I just can't get with it. But I feel like as the generations go, things will sort of ease up on that.
well, you should hope, but remember, um, just when we're speaking generationally, like generational stigma is taught. So let's
Yeah,
say
true.
Like, I really doubt there's ever gonna be a time where you wander into a Mormon community with a bong in hand and, like, rip a bowl and everybody's perfectly fine with
Well,
it, you know what I mean? I
here's the craziest part about what you just said. My uncle is a Mormon priest, like ordained and everything, and he owns a weed farm.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's happening. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like it's. I feel like maybe more of like the Orthodox Mormons, like you're saying, or like Orthodox Catholics or Orthodox Judaism, any of that, they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, God says no on that, so I'm good. But
But,
that's one of those things you can debate. Anyone that's read the Bible knows the oldest quote. This is one that weed heads love to throw around. God gave us the greens of the earth to use as we see fit, or to use to benefit our health, whatever the white man translation is of it.
I
I
hadn't
gotta
heard that.
here. I'll look it up. But
But, Ashton, before we got on the podcast, you were mentioning how you hate taxes and how you never pay them. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm just kidding, man. No, but that's something else. Like,
It's
so when you say,
whenever we
Mhm.
first started, I was like, I'm gonna do all of our taxes. I got this. No issue. Like I'll
yeah,
figure it out. The first day I went to go attempt to do anything tax related, I hired an accountant.
yep. Literally, I made that mistake a couple years ago, and I'm sure anyone that does research will be able to find this. But my first business I ever owned, I didn't understand that. So I was told by a friend of mine, and if you're listening to this, I'll never forgive you for this, by the way. I don't talk to this guy much anymore for this exact reason. But he told me exactly, if you don't make $5,000 a month, you don't have to claim it on taxes. And I was like, okay, I
Jeez.
believe you. You own your own business. And so my first business, I didn't make any sort of like revolutionary amount of money that would change fucking multiple people's life, but apparently I made enough for to get in trouble for not paying my taxes for 3 years because I didn't
Yeah.
understand like that you were supposed to, and it wasn't anything bad. They
I
just
wanna
aren't.
say I wanna say it's $10,000 a year. Less than
Yeah,
$10,000 a year, you
now
don't
it's
have
even
to.
less with Biden recently signed into law. Any sort of third-party asset you use that you send at least $600 rather to and from, you have to claim it on your taxes. That includes Cash
I
App,
do remember
Facebook
saying
Pay.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's all that, and that's unfortunate because I pay my rent through there. And so the only way now that you can legally write that off, you have to attach a note to every Cash App you send that says rent, and you have to have like a receipt. And I don't know, it's stressing me out. When I think about taxes, like not just including like the money I make from the podcast, the money I make from kosetechie.com, the money I make for my NFTs and any crypto trading, all that shit is taxable this year for the first time, like truly taxable. Which with crypto, it's kind of a gray area because unrealized gains, like as long as I like don't pull the money out, like don't sell my crypto, technically it's unrealized. I haven't actually
Mhm.
made anything yet, so I'm okay there. But just the amount of new random bullshit that is just being added to taxes is like one of the creepiest things, and it's only getting like more and more severe. And one of the beauties, I'm sure you're realizing this, living in Tennessee, Tennessee fucking loves small business owners. They they really are better than because when my cousin and I were attempting to do the farm in Virginia, dude, oh my God, they were asking $80,000 up front and all kinds of crazy shit. Tennessee was like, just give us the information of the land and where you're gonna put it, and give us a couple $100s for the application fee, and you're good to grow wherever. They didn't give a fuck. It was like way simpler for us. But it's like all the other places I've kind of tried to operate an entity in or what have you, Florida, Michigan, any of these places, I've had a lot of difficulty and I've just pretty much given up and I've got two places. I just do right now. Technically, I have two areas and it's North Carolina and Tennessee because I ship a lot of my stuff out of North Carolina and house it there.
Mm.
But I'm sure, I mean, you know that. One of the things I really wanted to get you on here for was to kind of explain how a lot of people that listen to this podcast from the analytics I gather are people that are between the ages of 20 and 30, and they're all typically male, and they're all typically people that regularly search entrepreneurial type searches. What's any kind
Mhm.
of advice you can give someone that like wants to get in this path and wants to turn one of their hobbies into like a monetized form of income?
I would say, just like speaking from my experience, and I feel like what's, helped get me to the point where I feel like I am successful. Um, I feel like just honestly, like believing in myself every single day. You know what I mean? Like I was the kid that was like 16 years old saying I'm gonna be a billionaire. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like every single day, you know what I'm saying? Like I wake up and like truthfully, you know, tell myself I never have doubts, and I think that's so important just in anything you do. Just like believing, you know, I'm gonna
That you
do this,
got
and then I'll
this.
say as well. I've always felt like I'm a big risk taker. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about, like taking the big risk whenever I was first starting and saying like, you know, like if this doesn't work, I'm back to, you know,
Square
just
one,
like,
yeah.
yeah, back to square one. But that's, to me, you know, some people call it crazy, but I feel like anybody who has, you know, seen extreme amounts of success, you know, they're risk takers, you
Yeah.
know.
And once you taste that kind of like even just that small amount of success, even if you lapse and you go back into not necessarily poverty, but you go back to a more humble state of living, you want it so bad. It's like you taste it one
Mhm.
time and you're like, I can't live any other way. Like I've got to have that. I've got to continue to grow. I've got to continue to make myself better. I've got to continue to chase this. And it's one of
Becomes
those
your
things that
standard.
it's yeah, it's and that's hilarious that you say that because that's one of those things like I would get kicked out of math class. I would have these people like these teachers be like, "You're never going to be anything. You're going to be working at McDonald's by the time you're 30 and all this shit." And be like, "You know what, motherfucker? I'm going to be freer than you'll ever be. You're still paying student loans
I
off and
swear,
you're
bro.
30 years into teaching and
I
you're
swear,
yelling at
dude.
a kid who's 16. You have beef with a kid who's 16 just because he fell asleep in your class because you're spouting some nonsense that I learned 2 years ago when I was in 10th, 8th, 6th grade, whatever you want to put there. And that's a weird thing too. That's something that really needs to be changed. I think one of the things that could really benefit in this country is one paying teachers more and having a much higher entry level to be a teacher. Like you have to I feel like you should give a fuck. Like there's a lot of these people
I
that
agree.
get in here and they just have tenure and they're like, "You know what? I've been teaching for
Hmm.
20 years. Fuck these kids.
And
I'm just trying to make it."
that's a good point as well to bring up is a lot of teachers they start off with the spirit. You know what I mean? They start off like 10, 20 years ago, they would do the class project that gets everybody like energized and like into the actual topic. Like you go to the gym and you play dodgeball to learn how atoms work. Like
Right.
that's cool. And then you have the other teachers that's like, yeah, page 26, open it up, read through it, and after you're done, put your hand up and all come out and pass out a test.
Yeah, the science teacher's like, I'm gonna teach you kids how the Hadron Collider works. Okay, Jimmy, you stand right here. Um, Let me get the two best guys in the class with the strongest arms. Both of you throw a dodgeball at him as hard as you can at the same time.
Let me
Just
wait, coaches. The coaches are over there.
yeah,
One sec.
coach. Oh man, that used to be like the unifying event. Like you'd be playing dodgeball and one team would be losing too bad, so the coach would be like, "All right, I'm gonna join the losing team." And you gotta think
Yeah.
that's like
Right,
some
yeah.
real like I'm trying to big ball the rest of these little kids. Like yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
putting like thinking about that as an adult in that scenario, like,
That is
oh
weird.
my gosh, you
Think
feel
about
like you're just a superhuman amongst like,
they probably felt like gods. They're
yeah,
like, I
right?
just beamed that little dork in the head, and now he's knocked out. Hey,
Talk
somebody
about
call
a
the nurse.
power trip.
Jimmy's out again.
Oh my gosh. You wouldn't even need to like go full force. You could just lob it and it would still, oh wow. I want to play dodgeball now.
And then you get that one random kid that's like way more athletic than he should be for his age, and he just beams you, and you get mad. And dude, so this actually happened to me. I'm bringing up this story. I was in Severe Middle School. This is before I got kicked out of Severe Middle School. We were another dodgeball event, like we were saying, and I had this one coach, dude. He was bald. I can't remember his name for the fucking life of me, but I just remember he was so bald, and his dude. And when I talk about shine, this motherfucker had to put WD-40 on his head every day he woke up. I never seen anything like it. You could shine a light off of this, and I promise you could melt ants and like concrete even at some point if you focus it hard enough through a magnifying glass. But he joined this dodgeball game because my team was winning like a lot, and I had just like got a ball, and I was tiny. I've always been a really small guy, you know. I was never a big kid. I was always really small, fast, nimble kind of a kid, and I knew how to like put my body into stuff, like to throw really hard and generate the inertia from your feet all the way through your arm, like you through your hip, shoulder, arm. And he looked away for 1 second, and I beamed this dude in the face, bro. I beamed as hard as I could. Like I put everything I had into that, and I beamed him. And you could see like the red mark on his shiny ass bald head. And this dude got so mad, bro. I mean, he was trying to kill me. He literally, it wasn't even dodgeball anymore. He was chasing me around the gym. There was no ball in his hand. He was just running after me in the gym, and I was screaming for my life. I was like 6'3" bald guy with like the biggest calves ever, like tree trunks for calves. He's like, "I'm gonna kill you." And thank God I was just fast enough, and I got out. And there was this one gym teacher that worked with him, Mrs. Potts. She was a, I don't know if you ever went to Severe Ashton, but she was
No, I didn't.
she was so nice, dude. She would let me play Pokemon. Like I'd be in gym class, be like, "Yo, let me hide under the bleachers, play some Pokemon." Even though I was really athletic, I just some days you just don't fuck with the other kids. But she saved me from them. She was like, "Yo," she didn't say "yo," but she was like, "You know, what are you doing?" Imagine she just comes up, "Yo," she got a beanie and a chain on. What the fuck's happening? What are you doing, to this little kid, dog? But she came up and saved my life, bro. I think about that a lot. I could have got killed by a man because I beamed him in the face and his ego was hurt. But back to the normal point, I don't know how we got to there from teachers need to be paid more. Maybe that makes sense. Teachers should be paid more so guys like that don't
So
just
that
coach.
doesn't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
it's like it's a whole. Not only should they be paid more, but I don't want to get into it. Maybe they should be trained in a lot more than just teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah,
But
I
like
agree.
if you had a teacher that also was a psychology major, or like, not saying that you need a degree to get into teaching, but let's say teaching was alluring enough, like you're literally molding the minds of tomorrow. But if it was worth it, you would have people that instead of becoming a scientist
Or a
and
doctor, yeah.
or a
Really, that's
doctor or
what it
something like
is.
that. And so not necessarily even that, but we could, not saying that there's wasted potential in the video game space, but let's say someone could easily make uh, a certain amount of money coding a video game, and they're in an area where they have the ability to do so. They're obviously going to do that rather than going to a school and teaching computer sciences.
Yeah.
But if that guy, that person, doesn't have to be a guy, if that female as well, that genderless person could, I don't know, teach kids and get paid well for it, as well as, like, I don't know, because
No,
I
you're
think of
making a good
many, I my years of going to school were very odd, because for my grade 8 year, or like my last year of, I think you guys would call it middle school, yeah?
8th grade's the
Hmm.
end of middle school.
Yeah. So my last year of middle school, I ended up changing schools and going to a boarding school in London,
Fucking
which,
culture shock for real.
Oh, damn.
well, yeah, I went about an hour away from home, and I would get on the bus at 4 a.m. on Monday and get to the school at 8 a.m. Then I would live at the school for the week, and then come home Friday at 4.
All right, we should
But
probably tell people that London, Canada is different than Oi. Bit funny, isn't it?
oh yeah, when I went to London, yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
London,
that's
Canada
what I was
isn't.
sitting here thinking, honestly. I didn't know London, Canada was even a thing, bro. I thought
I didn't
Yes,
either before I
London,
met
Canada.
Griffin.
It's
that's I thought homie was saying he went from Canada to London, you know,
no,
like during the school year.
that
No,
would
but
be cool.
no,
That would
Griffin.
be awesome.
Tell them about
Um,
how when you were a kid you did fucking nautical classes and sewing. That's a real thing.
okay, yeah, that's another story. Well, I want to finish this thought
All right,
first,
go ahead. Sorry.
but that's part of my weird education upbringing. Anyway, during this school, at this school rather, this was what was called a demonstration school. So, teachers from different school boards would be selected, and then they would actually move them down to London and pay for their like their house or wherever they were living for 2 years or whatever while they did this contract. And so there were these teachers that were getting paid big bucks, and each of them had their own, like, it was a demonstration school, so it was usually a go-getter who is looking to get this like added to their resume sort of thing, but
Right.
also kind of experience it. So one of my teachers was uh, a city engineer, not a city engineer, but
Civil,
civil? Well, no, not a civil engineer.
mechanical, something.
Uh,
Engineer of some sorts that makes a lot of money. There we go.
Um, yeah, the engineer of some sort that makes a lot of money. Regardless, he planned out like city streets and city expansions, that sort of thing. Another one of the teachers I had was a ex-football coach for like
Yeah,
a
that's literally what it's called, a city engineer.
yeah, it's weird. And so another one was that's well, like quite honestly, a scientist. She had a few papers posted. That's who was teaching us science. But that year of teaching, so I went to that school reading at first grade level. And in the first half of the year, I was up to a third grade, and by the end, I was up to a seventh grader level. And that's what I read at now. But just to put that into perspective, I'm dyslexic, so it takes a little bit more attention. But along with that, I feel like I learned more in that year going to Amethyst, the boarding school, than I did in any other year of education, including post secondary. And it's mostly due to teachers taking the extra time and paying attention, but they had the ability to do that. Our classes had our biggest class had 8 kids in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the school
It was
itself
very like
had
hyper focused, yeah, on the
hyper
student.
focused. Yeah, so
Yeah.
after school, that when the classes were done, we had a choice to stick around the school, and the teachers would stay there for an hour and help you and answer all your questions.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So if we had that, not saying that it's even possible, but if teaching was appealing in a sense that you could like make a living wage and as well as like get summers off, like
Yeah.
not saying it's not appealing, but if teachers got paid much better, like if it was something that you would want to go out and be like, I'm gonna be an educator, like I feel as though
Like a respectable career, because like people will look at teachers and be like, "Oh, you're teaching that, like that's nice. I'm proud of you." But like in the area specifically we live in, you have pretty much three options if you don't become an entrepreneur. You either go to Eastman, which is a factory near us. You either become a nurse or you go to the military. Like that's what you got. Or you fail and work in fast food because there's a million fast food joints in this fucking area. Like there's so many. That's why being an entrepreneur rather in this area that we live in is so important, dude, because if you don't make your own path, there's only like four set out for you. Like we're
Yeah.
we're very like stuck in the ruts here. And so I
I
think
will say, I feel like Kingsport's a really good place to like, start being an entrepreneur.
yeah,
It's not too big where you're gonna have so many like big corporate chains, you
yeah.
know, putting you out of business, and it's not too small where you're not gonna get enough people.
See,
it's
that's what
enough to self-sustain, but not enough to warrant a spotlight or something like that, or take advantage of.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And it's one of those things too where it's like,
The
I couldn't
untapped market.
I couldn't become like a big millionaire like just off of owning smoke shops in the Tri Cities. You know what I mean?
right.
Because it's not big enough for something like that as
Mhm.
well. But I mean, with that, it's a very good start. You know.
Yeah, and also with it not being so big in Kingsport, that's what gives it like such a personal feel. That's what makes people want to go out
Hmm.
and find these little spots. They're like, "Oh, look at this new place this new place just popped up on Broad Street. Let's check this out." And then they tell their friends about it. Like, because everybody knows everybody. I know that when people think of Kingsport, like, "Oh, it's got, tens of thousands of people in it." Everyone can't know everyone, but I promise you, it is it is just small enough to where if you actually you interact with other human beings in this space, you will at some point come across someone who's interacted with someone you know. And it's just a spider web of everyone knowing everyone. And
Mm.
it leads to a lot of wonderful networking opportunities. Like I love that it's just small enough to where you can do that, but it's just big enough, like you're saying, to where you can actually make a living doing something that you're passionate about.
Dude, I'm
And
I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of those people who says that Kingsport is not like everybody doesn't know everybody in Kingsport, but I'm from a very, very small town in West Virginia
Right.
where like everyone literally does know everyone.
Yeah, I
You
can
know?
say that. I'm from Mountain City, Tennessee, and that's similar
Cool.
to you. Mountain City has like 3,000 people in total or something,
I'm
and
I'm from fucking Pineville, West Virginia, bro, and it's like 550 people.
that's how Damascus was. Yeah, my cousin, if he ever comes on the podcast eventually, we talk about him. We call him the mythical creature because we reference him a million
Oh,
times, but he'll never actually get on here. But DJ, he came from Damascus, Virginia, and that's where his farm's located and everything. And there's nobody in that town. I can literally name you like probably all 100, 200 people that live in the city limits. It's so small, dude. And they all know him, and like like it's one of those places where you walk downtown and it's like, "Hey Jim, hey Bob, hey Joe, how you doing? How's the
Yep,
kids?" Like there's no like
literally, bro.
nobody not waving at each other because every single person knows each other. And it's also one of those places that's small enough to where if you have beef with someone, it's 99% because you do meth and they stole meth from you. Like, thank the thank the heavens that
that's
my
kind
cousin
of
and I never
nice.
got intertangled in that kind of stuff. But it it's cool to come from a place like that. Like you coming from Pineville and me coming from Mountain City and him coming from Damascus and moving to places that are significantly bigger, larger, and still making an impact. It just proves it like reinforces the mindset that when we were younger we knew we were different from the crowd, right? Like
Yeah,
people like us, like entrepreneurs that know they have to make their own path. You grow up, and when you're in the education system, you immediately realize there's something wrong with it. Like within the first 5 6 years,
swear, dude.
you're like, this is
Yeah,
not
dude,
right. Like,
dude, I was in like as soon as I hit middle school, bro, I
yeah,
was done with school. You know, like it was over with.
and they'll try to shove it down your throat. They're like, if you don't go to school, you're gonna fail. You're never gonna go anywhere.
Nope,
Like you have to go to
exactly, bro.
school. But that's just not
Dude,
true.
I
And
Oh,
swear.
people, I want people to listen to this to not think like, oh, I can just drop out and be a bum the rest of my life. No, you can't just drop out and
Yeah,
be a bum the rest of your life. If you're gonna drop out, which I highly don't recommend, maybe drop out of college because it's a fucking scam, but at least finish high school
yeah.
and then start working your ass off towards something you really love. That's what Ashton did, and look at this motherfucker. Like you got 3 businesses, man. I cannot tell you enough how fucking incredible that is. Like
so
when I tell my
we
friends about what you've accomplished in this area, like in other states, they're like, man, once it becomes legal, the doors are gonna blow off for him, and
Hmm.
they're not wrong.
we talked about it in the last podcast a bit, but it's if you put your time and energy and effort into one thing and you match that to another thing that you're passionate about, you're going to be more successful in the thing
Yeah,
that you're passionate about. So if you like school, like if you're that type of person who enjoys the learning aspect of sitting in a classroom and doing that, more power to you. I know
absolutely.
people like that, and I think that it is pretty awesome that you can do that. But for me in particular, and you guys as well, we just knew that's not something that we want to spend our time and energy doing. So
Yeah.
don't force yourself but uh like you were just saying, sorry, back to the point, time and energy converting to something that you want. Yeah, don't waste your time going to school just because that's what you've been taught your entire life, and don't drop out of school just because we said you can do something else.
Right.
Um, most of what you want to do generally is find what makes you happy and kind of feed into that. So, like,
Yeah.
in
'Cause
a
it all
way,
depends on what you want. You know, like if you want to be a
Yeah.
doctor, you got to go to school. But
Fact.
if you want to, you know,
hmm
get
and
into
if people
business,
are,
go get into business. Go get a job somewhere or go take a fucking risk. Don't
and
go sit in a classroom for 4 years.
with people breathing down your throats too, you don't necessarily, like, I know in Canada it's pretty popular for your first year of college to be your not knocking anybody with an arts degree, but your arts degree year, where you mostly just try to take classes that aren't very expensive,
Just figure out
move
what you want to do, pretty much.
exactly, move
Yeah.
to a different city and adjust. And I know several people have done that, but it's uh, honestly, I would say like schools, post secondary anyway, is a bit of a rip off right now. Anyway.
you have an obligation, not just to yourself, but the people you love, to really do introspective thought and be like, what makes me happy? Because, and this is going to some real, off the wall deep shit. But if you're not inherently happy with your life, then the people around you are going to notice that. You're going to make people around you unhappy because you're unhappy. So you owe it to yourself and the people around you to really sit down and be like, would being a doctor make me happy? Would being a scientist make me happy? Would being a lawyer make me happy? Would being an entrepreneur make me happy? Would owning a fucking hot dog stand on the Appalachian Trail make me happy? Like, whatever the fuck, you can sit down and be like, I could see myself doing this for life. You owe it to yourself to really get out there and really chase after that with everything you have. And there are success stories, and that's why I'm really glad you came on today, Ashton, because there's a lot of people that listen to this that think, how the fuck could I turn jump roping into a monetizable career? You know what? Get on YouTube, do some fucking tricks. Get on TikTok, do some tricks, man. These people would be like, "Yo, you see this guy with the jump rope? I swear to God, I never seen anybody double dutch like this guy." And then you'll start making. You just gotta really work towards it. I mean, and when I say work, I'm not talking about, yeah, once a week I'll look into it, maybe once every couple months. You gotta wake up in the morning. You gotta fucking work. You gotta think, how can I continue to progress? As soon as you wake up,
Yeah.
your first thought shouldn't be, let me see what's going on social media. I wonder what everyone else is doing. Fuck what everybody else is doing. Worry about the fuck you're doing. You gotta continue. You gotta grow. Now, for those people that are like, I'm a social media marketer. How am I supposed to fucking? Yeah, obviously you're the exception. You gotta check social media and see the trends and shit. But for the person who's trying to get into it and start out, that's trying to figure out what they want to do, you really got to do introspective thought. You got to ignore what everyone else is doing, where they're at in their life, and you got to worry about what you're doing in your life. Um, I got friends right
That
now that
definitely.
are. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. I was just gonna say that definitely is like hard work is such a big part of it, and just like I'm 22 and success was like whenever I was 16 through 20, I didn't like really hang out with friends, like I was figuring out like how can I get some money to like do something, like you know what I mean, the entire time. I really was. Like even
You're
like we were saying, like I was already like I was going into my junior year, like I'm done with school, like I need money. Like I want to be young and successful. I need, you know what I mean? And it's just
yeah.
like now I feel like I set back more than I ever have. You know what I mean? And like I do chill and stuff now from time to time, but I've been trying to like tell myself recently, like I'm not done. You know what I mean? Like I got a little bit of success now, but there's a lot more grinding to do. You know?
But
That's what I
but
wanted
that's
to ask you
also.
next. What's your next kind of, not your next focus, but do you have any interests aside from expanding your current business, or are you looking just to grow that for now, or what?
Um, I want to get into real estate, and because that was always my plan was to get into real estate. Start just flipping
Okay.
houses and stuff like that. Like that was my original. This is what I'm gonna do, and then it just pretty much out of nowhere switched into the laboratory.
Right.
So definitely apart from the laboratory and everything, I want to get into that very very soon.
Hmm.
Just because I feel like you know that's
Passive
just
income, and
that's
it's, yeah.
yeah, and it's something that like that's what like wealthy people do. Like any wealthy person is in real estate. You know what I mean? There's
There's not a better
literally
form of residual income than real estate in the world.
yeah,
Every millionaire will tell you that. I actually
I
got someone
definitely want to.
I can contact you with. We actually had a guy who's like a real estate mogul in Atlanta on the podcast a couple episodes ago. And
Actually, that's
yeah, we
yeah.
just had him on a couple episodes ago, and dude, what was he saying? He nets like a couple 100,000 a month just from flipping houses in Atlanta alone, and then he's got a couple
Yeah.
other places. I could definitely get you in touch with that guy, and he could like help you bridge into it. Obviously, he
Hmm.
does his own way of it. I'm not sure exactly like he explained it on the podcast, and I have the memory of a fucking chipmunk, so I
So
I just
basically,
don't
the way
remember.
he has it work, like the way he's working it right now, is sort of where he is an agent in the sense of real estate that, uh, so he could either approach someone who owns land and say to them, like, oh, I want to market your land as this and we'll get it sold as that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So he'll, yeah,
But he was also talking about how they have enough
does it the
capital
other
to where
way, yeah.
they buy neighborhoods and then like turn around and like fix them up and rent them out. Like he'll like completely control, like monopolize an area and then set the rent rate because he buys the entire area and then he's like, all right, now that I've completely kind of encroached this territory and taken control of it, I'm now going to set not only an affordable rent rate but a rent rate that's going to carry my fucking funds so I can make
And
sure everyone
Yeah.
can live here efficiently, but I can also make my own money. That's really respectable of him because a lot of people would just try to gouge it. Like for example, my buddy's rent just probably 6 months ago, before this whole shit happened with Los Angeles, and like everybody in California was like, "I'm getting out of here. We're going to Texas or Tennessee." I don't know why that. Well, I know why they picked Texas.
That
Everyone's
is a
like, Joe,
thing, bro.
yeah, everyone was like, Joe Rogan went to Texas. Let's go there. And then everyone else was like, "Oh, Tennessee. It's fucking one of
I
the
think
cheapest places
Tesla
in the country."
did Tesla go from California to Texas or Texas to California?
They do have a gigafactory in Austin, if I'm not mistaken, or in Texas. That's why Elon Musk is fucking always in Austin.
Yeah, I believe they used to be in California and then they moved to Texas.
So they have a gigafactory in Nevada, it's saying. They also have one in Texas, yes. So it's in Austin. And it's literally on Tesla Road. So he bought a whole fucking road and then
Mhm.
built. That's the like you're saying, that's one of my major aspirations to get to a point
I
where I can
swear,
just
bro. That's always been a dream of mine, dude. Just
it's
to have
savage.
the road name, bro. Like,
Yo, you're on Ashton Court right now. You better pay respect. That's fucking hard, dude. Oh man. Yeah, but real estate, man, that's one of those things like so people right now, a good majority of the 99%, I'm definitely not one of these people because my belief is if you work your ass off for money, no one should be able to tell you what to do with your money. But a lot of people right now are mad at Bill Gates because he's buying copious amounts of land. And they're like, "What's he gonna do with it?" I mean, and my whole thing about it is, who gives a fuck what he did with it? He worked his ass off, got the money, and he bought it. Why can you tell him what to do with it? But these
no.
people are like, "What if he buys it and then deforests it all and builds Microsoft fucking buildings?" I mean, make more money than him and buy the land back, motherfucker. You're so worried about what he's doing that you're not fucking fixing the problem. I love when people are like, "Billionaires don't need to have all that money. They don't deserve it." I'm like, "Why not? Why do you deserve it?" And you're like, they should be. And so one of my buddies posted on Facebook this morning, and he was like, billionaires deserve to be taxed 50% of their income because nobody deserves to live on $1 billion a year or more. And I was like,
Bro,
okay,
Elon does. I believe Elon's tax rate is
it's
right
insane.
around 50%. Yeah.
Elon pays more in taxes than I guarantee you, over 90% of the country. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
And so this guy was saying that, like, he basically said they deserve to have 50% or more of their income tax, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, I commented and I was like, oh, okay, so your argument is that if Jeff Bezos right now, because one of the things he posted, if Jeff Bezos right now gave 10% of his income, he could pay for every single diabetic person in America's insulin for a year. Why don't you take 10% of your income and go buy a diabetic person all their insulin for a year? Like, what's stopping you from doing the same thing that you want them to do because they make more money than you? Like, why are you upset that someone makes more money than you? Why don't you go make more money? That's one of the things I've just never understood. Like, and I
And
guess
honestly, like, I'm sure, and it's not something I've necessarily looked into, but I almost guarantee that Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk give insane amounts of money to like charities and like
yeah, they do.
different
Write-offs.
foundations and organizations and like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
insane amounts of money.
Dude, yeah, they're the two of the most charitable people in history, and people were like, they're just doing that to get a tax write-off. Duh. How do you think rich people stay rich? They're still giving more than you or anyone else in this country will give in their entire life. Why are you mad that they only gave 100 million to charities last year? They're just trying to get cheaper taxes when taxes. Okay, yeah, they're trying to do that, but when's the last time you gave $100 million in charity?
Yeah.
Shit, I gave $1,000 to charity one year and thought I was awesome, and then I remembered I was like, oh yeah, these motherfuckers are really out here like giving a million times 1,000 in over the course of their lifetime. I mean, Elon Musk is on track, if the economy ever rebounds from this current fucking shit show we're in, to be the first trillionaire. That's insane. think about a guy making $1 trillion. I can't even think of the number of $1 trillion. Like, if you've ever seen $1 million in person, it looks incredible. You're like, it's like fucking angels shining on a briefcase, letting you know, like, yo, this is a lot of money. You put $1 billion. I've never seen $1 billion. Let me go ahead and clarify. I can only imagine. I've seen right under $1 million one time in my life, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. I wish I could honestly steal that right now, but I would probably get murdered, so I won't. But you think about $1 trillion. I guarantee you, it's like, back in the day whenever they had the first computer that was built, it was big enough to fill an entire room. I want to say $1 trillion could fill an entire room.
$1 trillion would definitely fill an entire room,
Yeah.
bro. That would,
I- Like, you'd go to
that
walk
would
in,
be
hey, that's the money room. You can't even open the door. Don't even try it. The door's
Like, I
blocked by
feel
money.
$1 billion, I don't like it would like lightly fill a room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like $1 trillion, that'd be
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because now
unimaginable.
that I'm thinking about it, you see those Mr. Beast videos, and he just takes ones, and he'll fill up a room with like $100,000, and people will like dive into it and like catch money and shit. And he's filling up entire rooms with just $1 million just with ones. So I could only imagine. Like, imagine you put $1 trillion in ones. I think that's like,
That's a fire hazard.
yeah, sure. That's just the fucking. You guys seen
That's
that
like the
Batman movie
mountain of
where
money from
we were going to the same place? That's okay. We'll carpool there together. That's all right.
Yes, what we were talking about, in case anybody isn't on the same page, in The Dark Knight, there's a scene where the Joker burns I think it's $1 million in that scene.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Or 100,000, is it?
I don't know. It's a lot of fake money though. It's a
Zeros,
big
yeah.
mountain. He like slides down it. Cool.
So
But honestly, I've never like I don't. I want to play devil's advocate here. I've never wanted like a large like a. I wanted enough money to keep me and the people around me comfortable and happy, and that's about all I've been aspiring to. Like I want a safety net, but I don't exactly want to own a continent. You know what I mean?
and that's not bad. Like, my aspirations are 100% well above my means right now. Like, I've got some sort of fucking hungry demon in me that's like, buy the planet. Buy the planet, change all the fucking laws, make weird shit happen. Like, I know that it's one of those things that is a long shot, but if I can even get to a point where I can directly affect everything in my immediate area, like when I walk through an establishment, my fucking money can change anything that could happen. Because people hate money, it's the root of all evil, blah, blah, blah. It is a vehicle to get anything you want in this fucking planet. No matter how much you hate it, the more money you have, the more access you have to different areas of this world. And that's just one of those things. I want my children, I want my children's children, I want my family, my extended family to have the access that we never had growing up. I grew up poor as shit, man. I mean, I grew up dirt poor, like, we were homeless multiple times. I lived in a fucking one-bedroom apartment with 6 people that had so many roaches we couldn't keep food or silverware in the house. So to get to a point now where, Kiana and I are looking to buy a house and like I'm like actively running these businesses and things are going okay. I'm to a point now where it's still even not enough because I've been to the lowest lows. I want to see the fucking peaks, man. I want to see those
Yeah.
points like Ashton's saying. Like, I want to see that point of success where I can fucking sit down and literally not do anything and the residual income is just still coming in. Like, I refresh my phone and there's $100,000 that I just made. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm a
Yeah,
greedy
that'd be
son of a
cool.
bitch, but if I'm greedy, then so fucking what? I still,
That's kind of
what?
like that's how I feel about it, bro. Like sure, I'm greedy. You know what I mean? But like I'm also generous at the same time. You know what I mean? Like
I would say this: out of all the people I know personally, you're definitely one of the most generous people I know. I mean, you put all the homies on. You came up and were like, "There's not a single one of you people that were riding with me originally that I'm just gonna put in the fucking back burner." Like all of
yeah.
our main friends growing up, you definitely put them on. And I met you much later in life. I will clarify that, but we had a lot of mutual friends, and
Mhm.
to see you still help all them out. even after some of the stuff that's happened, like with them, like it's incredible. And that generosity doesn't go unnoted, and that's one of the reasons people do gravitate towards you. And I think one of the things that comes with success and having that sort of influence on others, I would like to think this personally in my own life. I think it's very important that you use that influence and that to positively affect other people and like teach them and hopefully get them in a position where they can like do so themselves. Not necessarily compete with you, but succeed in their own right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely say, man, like it feels so good, like being able to like you know like give my close friends, you know what I'm saying, that I've known for years through how that I met through however, and I get
Yeah.
to give them a job that actually like pays them well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, like as just like a small business, just as,
Some of those
as
kids you
little as
met
we are.
on video games, man. You're putting the Xbox kids on. Like that's cool. That's hard, man. I think all the time, like Griffin, I met through. He lives in Canada, and so does Greg. I met both of them through PlayStation, playing Overwatch
Yeah.
and Fortnite and shit. And we started
Indeed.
this wonderful project together where we get to talk to cool ass people like you and Colton and Braxton and Nick and all these guys we're having on. And I just hope it continues to grow. Like the main goal for this is similar to what I've been talking about. Like, I want to get to a point where people will listen to this and they'll be like, they'll get this perspective change. That's the most important thing. I want to get my perspective across to the world. I want people to listen to this and be like, oh, there's a whole nother way to look at this. Just because my parents said I have to do it this way, just because society says I have to do it this way, just because the only proven path, quote unquote, is to do it this way, doesn't mean I have to do it that way. Like that's a really important thing, like for me to get
Yeah.
across.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's so important in life to just like listen to your gut. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what is your head, your body, your mind telling you to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with that, I have one last question to ask you, Ashton.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the states of New Jersey and Rhode Island, incest between two adults is legal. However,
Fuck.
marriage is not. How does that, as a person, make you feel?
Wait, hold on. Say that question again.
I'm
Yeah.
just it's a weird fact, but in New Jersey and Rhode Island, incest between two adults is legal. However, it doesn't permit marriage. How does that make you feel as a person?
Wait, so you can fuck your cousin, you just can't marry him?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. I
In New
mean,
Jersey and Rhode Island, that surprised me.
how do I put this? You will never reach the banana if you do not have the courage to climb. You know what I'm saying? Oh my god, dude. I got a question that I haven't brought up. Have you guys heard about that fucking thing they found in Siberia? They found a fucking like a species of human that is the bridge. Like
Oh,
it was so a Neanderthal and a Denisovan. Is that, am I saying that correctly? Denisovan?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Denisovans. Yeah, I'm saying it correct. So a Neanderthal and a Denisovan had a child. Two entirely different species of humans that were previously thought to have never mated or intermingled in any form whatsoever. They found a child of both of them in a cave in Siberia. Why is all kinds of shit in Siberia? My question is, honestly, how the fuck do you think that happened if they were supposedly supposed to be tens of thousands of years apart?
Mm, Um, honestly, that suspect
Right? Is
could
Yeah.
everything we know a lie?
is could it be genetic anomalies or
No, no, like they straight up did the DNA testing and it was like 90% for each of them to one to be Denisovan and one to be Neanderthal. And they found like a mix with like a perfect split of the DNA. Like or not perfect. It was like 45-45 and then 10% some unknown shit. So I can only imagine they fucked a bird or something, but
Hmm.
you get to a point where now they're actually so when they found the Denisovans, right? So that's something that was recently discovered. They're finding people like to this day that still have that DNA in them, like 4% of it, which is insane. Think about how many. So about 400,000 years ago is when the Denisovans were even walking around and doing shit. So how does I don't understand genetics personally. Kiana, my fiance, she's got a bachelor's in that kind of shit. But how the fuck does 400,000 years of genetics pass down and still leave you with 4%? If like my entire family is supposed to be German and I have 0% German in me and I'm like 50% Scottish. I don't get genetics. I think we need to have I'm gonna have a scientist on here one day, sit down and just really fucking explain genetics to me. I'm gonna go
Oh,
brain
man.
dead and just try to figure it out.
So do you have a pen and paper in front of you?
Who, me? Are
Yeah.
we doing the Punnett Square? Is that what's happening?
No.
Thank God. I can't go through chemistry and fucking biology again. Oh God.
I was just gonna say put 4 letters on that piece of paper and then rearrange those 4 letters and do that as many times as you can to get the maximum amount of sequences. You'll probably fill up about 2 pages and then times that by I think it's around 30,000 is what we've sequenced so far. But those 4 asterisks represent basically different traits and different genetic, well, traits, yeah, markers that make up different parts of DNA, and entirety they make up you.
Oh shit. I know my fucking brain is wandering right now, but I have to ask you this, Ashton. From where you are entering a very avant-garde sort of business idea in this area, recently a couple states in America and Canada have all like legalized medicinal use of psilocybin and a couple other psychedelics. If it ever came to fruition that like this area allowed such recreational uses, would you think you would get into that kind of study?
Um, I would definitely be open to it, especially if it's something that they would allow, like in the actual dispensary.
You're right.
I'm not sure.
Mm.
A lot of times they have weird regulations where maybe
Yeah, with
those two places couldn't
medicinal.
be in the same building or something.
True.
Um, but I would definitely say so.
I've been watching like a bunch of documentaries on how microdosing psilocybin supposedly has some of the best neurogenic properties in the
Mhm.
world. Like it's supposed to help. Like also learning other languages. I've been studying a lot about dementia and Alzheimer's because my grandmother has dementia, and I've just kind of been looking into it because I want to prevent that shit. That's one of the scariest things in
Same,
the
dude.
world to me is like
I
getting
swear, bro.
old and
My
then just forgetting it.
my great grandma has it, and it's she's been basically just not there for just years. Just
Isn't that
around
such
the
a
clock
creepy
care.
thing?
Just yeah,
You like look at them and it's like a husk. It's like their consciousness has been put into some form of hibernation or it's been
absolutely.
locked away. And
It's
they
so
just
crazy, man.
one of the things I've been reading about though is like learning a second language and like basically putting your brain in unfamiliar territory
Yeah,
and making it work harder is what prevents that. Which makes me
I've
think,
even seen like video games.
yeah,
Are good for just because it stimulates your mind.
absolutely.
Hmm.
I think I think that's definitely one of those things that people say it's really good to have a routine and to like, yeah, get up, eat your breakfast, go to work, come home, watch the kids, go to bed. But the scary thing about routines, no matter how healthy they may be to someone who has a chaotic life or has trouble organizing, if you get too stuck in a routine, that has been directly linked to having dementia and Alzheimer's. 100%
Yeah,
has been linked to that shit. If you catch yourself and you've done the same routine for 20 years and you're listening to this, 10 years, 5 years, maybe even just try to switch it up. Maybe instead of playing fucking badminton this week, you go out and hit a golf ball. You got to switch some shit up because your
Maybe
brain needs
instead
to
of
be
using your
exercised.
right hand, use your left hand.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe instead of either, you just fucking head between the legs, roll down a hill like Sonic the Hedgehog, see what your top speed is. I've previously hit
Hmm.
65 miles an hour. I blew
Damn
straight
it.
through a car door. Damn it, not again. You beat me.
I'm only at 40. Gosh.
Well, I've taken great inspiration from Mr. Sonic the Him Hog. The him.
Meme hog.
What was I saying the other day? That was Hedgehog.
Hedgehog, yes.
So, before I get too off topic, because everyone listens knows I have the most sporadic brain on the face of the planet. Um, we got some wonderful advice from Ashton today. We got a good insight into kind of what that sort of field looks like. I'm really appreciative of you coming on. Is there anything in particular you want to shout out, or anything you got going on in your life you want people to know about?
Um, I definitely want to shout out everybody, that's helped get us here. Obviously, I don't at all do any of this on my own, you know. So shout out to my business partner Adam, you know, every single employee at both laboratories. Shout out to my kitchen manager Dustin, um, the managers at the labs, Spacey and Kane, and shout out to Bugs.
Let's
Always
go,
been there
Bug.
for sure. Today was Bugs' last day, man. And I'm
What?
very sad about it. Yeah, he's it's not like it's like a good thing that he's
Yeah,
leaving sort of thing. But today was his
that's
last
sad.
day.
Yeah, that's definitely
You know,
sad.
Damn.
We love Bugs on
but
this podcast. Bugs, I know you listen to this from time to time. I love you, buddy.
yeah, we were talking about it today, bro. I was telling him I was gonna be on here.
Yeah, I love Bugs, man. Bugs good people. Ashton, dude, I'm 100% interested in having you back on. I'd like to have you on with Colton in a couple weeks. I'll hit you up and we'll
Yes,
schedule
sir.
some shit. And anyone that's listening to this, if you're located in Northeast Tennessee, you guys can check out the laboratory. What's the address in Kingsport?
It's 133 Broad Street, Kingsport, right next to Stir Fry, and then the Johnson City store is 108 Tipton Street, Johnson City, and it's gonna be there next to the Label and Tipton's Pub.
Boom. So if there's anything I can leave you guys with at the end, I like to leave some sort of little message. Go back and kind of pick through this and pick up some of the wonderful tips Ashton gave you. Always believe in yourself, and you got to wake up every single day and work your fucking ass off for this shit, man. We love you so much. And don't forget, you never must. Griffin, you want to fill them in on what they can't do?
You can never choke on your daily dose of 2 pieces of toast.
Peace. You guys can talk. I can't get the stop fucking function to work, of course.
Craig, leave.
Yeah,
Craig.
Craig, get